Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Last time we finally got Rolly Beat to admit that he tampered with the scene of the crime, and moved it to the other side of the street just to, get out of doing his job and going on a date with his wife for their anniversary. So this time we're going to see where the trial takes us now. Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Whoever thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of the crime like that? Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here. Principally, that the accused, Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, is the only person who could have possibly have committed this crime. Oh, come on, man. After all of that... No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there's someone else. Another person who could possibly be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already. Lord Van Zeeks, is this true? Very well. Name the person if you will, and if further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. You will name this other person who could have perpetrated this crime. Obviously... Where's she at? Oh, there she is. Joanne Garrideb.
Take that!
I don't think it was like, murder. It was more like an accident. She just threw the knife out the window. The defense would once again like to request the cross-examination of a new witness, my lord. Once again? My assistant made the same request earlier. In order to finally reveal the truth about this case. Big points! It's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joanne Garrideb. Me? Oh, dearie, me.
Objection!
I still think this is ludicrous. You shouldn't be able to cross-examine a juror on the case at hand. That request has already been denied.
Objection.
But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garrideb, answer me this. Riddle me this. What do you want now, you little toad? At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garrideb. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited. And to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks out over Briar Road. Well, what of it? You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the open top-hinged casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident. Yes, and as I said, what of it? During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on, like a knife! So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garrideb. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back. Have you really never laid eyes on it before? Ugh! I don't recall it. Seriously? Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? And anyway, the man over there and all that regalia said members of the jury needn't testify, didn't he? Conveniently, yes.
Objection!
No, I have no recollection of saying that at all, juror number 4. Oh, what's this? Oh? Make no mistake, you jurors are not special in any way. You're not immune to the judicial process. I would think they would be. We just gotta swap them out with a different jury. If you know something about this knife, madam, let the truth come out. But that's just a common or garden knife. It could have come from anywhere. We have several like that at home. If one went missing, how would you expect me to know? What's that? Are you joking? What are you saying? Please, Mrs. Garrideb. She's saying it's possible that they do own that knife. Now you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injured someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it. Oh, the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife if that's what you think. Come along now. Chop chop. Do your worst. Well, Mr. Naruhodo? If I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already. Just like she threw the knife at the victim. Then take the stand, juror. Oh! The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman. Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. I'm going to have to testify. I know, shocker, isn't it? Juror number 4. As I'm sure you will appreciate, having observed it with your own eyes already today. Witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of which the witnesses themselves may not have been aware. Oh, dearie me. So I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Mrs. Gerdev. And mark my words, in this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels? Certainly, my lord. Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. It's kind of odd the prosecution is like switching gears here. Ooh, this is a new camera angle. This is such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here, in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer. Witness, state your name and occupation. Oh, yes, my name is Joanne Gerda, and I'm a juror, and such like. That's not an occupation. It sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or a maid or what anymore. The court has decided your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madam? Yes, my lord. You will tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth. Oh dearie me. Oh, I assume this is her husband. Chin up, Joni. Nothing to worry about now. I forget what voice I did for him. Chin up, Joni. Nothing to worry about now. Oh, he's here. He's out of his chair. Oh, I didn't know you were here, John. Wasn't only you in the room that day, old thing, was it? Rather think I ought to testify as well, don't you? But what about your knee, dear? Don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone. Oh, John. I presume you are Mr. John Gerda? Yes, sir. Former 2nd Lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th, what is that? Words. Seen my fair share of action and now living the quiet life, as it were. The quiet life? Were you not engaged in incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in action? Question. Well, yes. Ahem, quiet. Incendiary action, that is one way to put it. I believe this may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question. Sir, at once. He basically just showed up because we can't have a single witness, can we? It's gotta always be a group. Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. Knocked a candlestick over and set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out though, and got the window open. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him. Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I noticed if 1 or 2 went missing, I'm afraid. If that bally thing in the victim's back really was one of ours, you'll have a job proving it, I think. It sounds as though it was quite the battlefield in your household that evening. Although an entirely one-sided assault, it seems. The enemy caught us on the hop, sir. Had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if the enemy had kept shelling us for another minute, we'd have been toast. Of course, a veteran such as myself is only too aware that on every battlefield, you're just a gnat's whiskers from death at any moment. Are we still talking about a marital quarrel here? Well, I must say I'm dubious that this testimony will shed any light on the origins of this jackknife. In combat, one's focus narrows such as that surroundings are barely noticed. These witnesses may not be able to offer anything more than they have testified already. This may be a dead end. Well, shut up and let me do my job, man. Well, then we'll see if that's really the truth. Van Zieks may well be right. Well, whatever the chances, we only have this last cross-examination to uncover the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I'm afraid so. Very well, counsel. Begin your cross-examination. I guess we'll just press here. I feel like wait, don't we know the reason it was because of this bookmark? Or do we have that bookmark? I guess we don't have that. I guess I'm just gonna keep pressing everything here. The reason is what you told us yesterday, I believe. Yes, that's right. If I remember correctly, it all started because of a note that was tucked into the pages of a book belonging to Mr. Gerdev. A rather passionate note, in fact. Yeah, it was like a love letter, and it wasn't even the same name as John. It was someone else. But Mrs. Gerdev found the note, discovering her husband's little secret. And she gave him a mighty number of slaps across the face for it, too. What a sordid state of affairs! Hell on earth. I say, when a chap says he can't recall such things, it's common decency not to drag it all up. And besides, half of it was a wide of the mark anyway. Oh, he's looking nervous. A likely story. These waters run very deep. And what transpired next after these multiple blows to the face? Okay, so that was nothing. Alright, let's talk about the setting of the fire. And the fire also spread to some items of furniture, didn't it? The bookcase, my armchair, anything of mine, really. Just so happens that there was some bathwater around that evening, so I sloshed that about to put it out. A most precarious situation that you put yourself in. Ours is a 3-story townhouse on the west side of the street, where the water main isn't connected yet. Have to draw water from a public water pump during the day if you need any, you see. The lodgers are always moaning that they can't get any water at night. Although that little mustached Japanese man buys water in bottles, I believe. Is that going to be important? The defendant, Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, he receives a stipend for his studies, you know, from his home country. Can you imagine being able to brew a pot of tea at all hours? He's obviously very well off. Have you actually seen the state of the man? Have you seen his room? I believe he uses all his income to buy books. Well, anyway, the point is, I was able to douse the fire with water, fortunately enough. Press that. Even though the room was on fire? As far as I was concerned at the time, I did not read that very well. It was more important to extinguish my anger than the flames. When a woman wants to throw, she must throw. She's really got to sort out her priorities, man. That's most certainly not true of a Susato takedown, Mr. Naruhodo. How'd you know I was thinking that? So, please cast your mind back and try to remember. Was a knife among the items that you threw at your husband that day? In all honesty, I don't recall. But I feel I must point out that I'm no monster. It really does sound like you are if you're ignoring the fires in your, Oh. Okay, hang on. Something's happening here. Let me read this. Let me see. Some bread, a cabbage, garlic, a towel, and a sponge. A napkin. Let's pursue that. You got something to say? Do you have something to add, sir? Mr. Gerdem. Don't shoot! Sorry, I beg your pardon. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind? Nothing of any significance, no. Just that the barrage of projectiles the old thing launched in my direction was somewhat more solid than she implies. Books, bricks, and the fire poker, I seem to recall. Oh. That's interesting. Ouch. The fire poker. So, what was going on there? What was he just saying? And the woman's aim is uncanny. She landed a direct hit with every bally. And she was pouring tea into his pipe. What the heck? Oh, dearie me. Ever so sorry, dear. What's she even doing with a teapot in here? Well, every time she did that at home, right? She was doing that to shut him up. So I'm definitely suspicious now. Honestly, John, I would never have thrown such things at you, obviously. Well, take a good look at this, then. How do you suppose that happened, Your pipe, sir? Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Now to clean out with one of her soft projectiles she did. Yes. When I went to pick the thing up, it was broken in two. I'd like to see a sponge do that sort of damage. A sponge? I see your pipe was broken. It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Anyway, I managed to bandage the thing up for now. You are one to exaggerate, aren't you, dear? I don't think he's exaggerating. I wonder what we should make of this account. It's, probably important. The defense believes Mr. Gerdev's remarks just now to be of great significance.
Objection.
This war veteran's words only tell us one thing. Betray a fiery wife and pipes, as well as hearts, may be broken. Sentimental wisdom, perhaps, but hardly worthy of adding to the formal testimony. Indeed. Common sense, one might say. Might one? In that case, would you at least permit us to examine the pipe, sir? Well, I don't see why not. Oh, dearie me, there you go again, trying to ingratiate. I've never seen that word before either. Trying to ingratiate yourself with a young lady. Very well. The court will accept the gentleman's pipe as evidence. Apparently, it fell to the floor during a domestic dispute he had with his wife and broke. Hope I didn't speak out of turn, Mr. Naruhodo. I was just feeling rather disappointed for you that your request was turned down. Oh no, it's fine. Thanks to Sasada-san, we have some new evidence to work with. We should examine it carefully. Well, thank you for that. Rebuttal, Mr. Gerdev. Now, we can return to the crux of the matter. What can you tell the court about the knife used to attack the victim? Okay, well, let's examine that real quick. Examine. Don't want to present it. I guess we'll examine the bandage. It looks to be in a sorry state with that bandage around it, doesn't it? But for some reason, it feels slightly ominous to me. Like it's trying to shout out a warning. Probably because it's the same blue as Mr. Gerdev's dressing gown. I suppose it must have considerable sentimental value to Mr. Gerdev, given that he's gone to the trouble of repairing it like this. Either that, or he can't afford to replace it. Anything on the back, or I guess inside? Oh, what is this? That's interesting. Oh, something just twinkled inside the chamber of the pipe. How did he not notice that? Like, that is a freaking huge whatever in there. Yes, I saw it. Something stuck in there, I think. Let's turn it over and give it a shake. Oh, what's this? It's a tiny fragment of metal. It looks like the tip of a blade or something. The tip of a blade? Surely, it couldn't be. Fascinating. I don't know. Can I examine this now? Anything special about it? This is the tiny piece of metal we found in the chamber of Mr. Gyarados' pipe. It looks like the tip of a blade or something. The tip of a blade? Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? I don't really know. There's just something niggling me, but I can't quite put my finger on what it is. Perhaps in that case, it would be wise to examine some of the other pieces of evidence again. Okay. Let's examine the knife, because the game is making it incredibly obvious now, isn't it? Can I look at the blade here? Pull it out. Oh! Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. Wait, part of it's missing? I could be wrong, but I've just got a feeling. Oh, you've just got a feeling? My man, like, you have short-term memory loss. We just looked at the tip of the blade like 2 seconds ago. You remember this? Ah, that's the tiny fragment of metal that we found inside Mr. Gyarados' pipe. Yes, and just maybe. Oh my, it's a perfect fit. I'm really glad we don't have to present this right here. Somehow I just knew it. Am I gonna get more info out of this? Oh, okay. Okay, so do I have to present the knife now, or do I just present the tip somewhere? Because I assume it's gonna be on this last statement. Yeah, okay. It's either the tip here or the knife itself. Oh, look at this. The jackknife actually did update itself. Yeah, let's present that. That wasn't right. Okay. There's clearly something odd about that last statement made by the witness. There's clearly something odd here indeed. Your behavior, counsel. Oh, haha, please. Don't mind me. That would be significantly easier if you would lower your head. I won't lower my hand until I prove my client's innocence. As long as it's quite quick. Okay, that's quite silly game. Come on. All right, let's present the tip.
Objection.
Come on, like the knife updated itself. Come on, Mr. Gyarados, could I ask you to take a good look at this, please? You can ask, but I don't see a bally thing. You can't. You used to call me Dead-Eye Deb back in the regiment course. But that was some time ago, now. Even when I'm trying to enjoy a large print book by the fire these days. I struggle to tell a B from a D and a P from a Q, to be honest. Oh, he does. Dear me, it's rather wearing, being asked about every other letter and every other word. You must D very dizzy. What is that? A tiny scrap of metal? Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first to be just a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence. Interesting. And where did the defense come by this evidence? I'm sorry, man, did you not just see me in court just now, like, turn the pipe over and shake it out? It was lodged in the chamber of Mr. Gyarados' pipe. My pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got there. And what precisely does this fragment of metal signify, counsel? Please don't make me present it. Just get on with it. Are you suggesting that it was in some way related to the matter of the stabbing on Briar Road? Was that necessary, dude? Come on. I am. What? When put together with another piece of evidence already in the court record. Don't make me present it, come on. I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of this case, my lord. Please don't make me present it. You appear rather confident in that extraordinary statement, counsel. Very well then, present the pertinent evidence to the court. Oh my god, game, are you serious? Oh my god.
Take that!
It's such a waste of time. This is the knife that was found in the victim's bed. Like, okay, like what idiot is gonna present one of these like pieces of paper or books, you know? Like it's all paper. Like this is the knife that was found in the victim's back. If you look closely, you will see that there is a small piece of there's a small piece at the tip of the blade that is missing. A common issue with the inferior blades sold at the unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave the tips lodged in their victims' bones. And what of this particular knife? No doubt its tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim.
Objection!
No, that's not the case. The tip of this particular knife's blade is the very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. InvertedAce's pipe. Oh! Oh! Good grief! Lord InvertedAce! I don't think we ever seen him react like that before. I don't believe it! The knife from the crime scene and this fragment of metal are a perfect match! Good! Good golly gosh! Order! 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 Is this some sort of Eastern sorcery? This is no magic, my lord. Dude, you should have just said yes and you would have won. Come on now. This is a miracle. A miracle? So Van Zieks has figured it out, has he? Counsel! Explain this extraordinary coincidence at once! Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have to ask ourselves here is when did this fragment of metal find its way inside Mr. InvertedAce's pipe? Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony. I had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles, she did, yes. It would appear to have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Okay, so the knife hit and broke his pipe. And somehow, the knife broke at the same time, but somehow it also fell and pierced the woman. Like that well? Oh, dearie me. During the argument between these two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. InvertedAce flung this knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. InvertedAce, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time, which caused the tip to break off, of course. Good lord! Yes, and that is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside Mr. InvertedAce's pipe. The chances of that are 1,000,000 to 1! Yet there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out the open window. Oh! In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the InvertedAce's house, big points, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back on the street below. Oh gosh, oh dear, oh. No! I can't do a scream in her voice.
Objection!
Has she always been standing on a box? I didn't realize how short she was. A full body theory, I'll give you that. A complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points, plausibly arranged to create an almost passable vintage. Allow me to toast my learned friend's characteristically Nipponese approach to bottling his arguments. Sorry? But after all, it is just a theory. A game theory. The bottle, I fear, is corked. Because you see... What now, do you? Come on. It spoiled my insurmountable inconsistency. An insurmountable... What? Lord Van Zieks, explain yourself! What is this inconsistency you claim to have identified? An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with a knife planted in the middle of her back. Yes, in her... Ah. Well, clearly, right, she just bent over to pick up... Oh, man, she slapped him good. That's right, you silly little man. Now, Joanne, old thing, what are you getting so excited about? Let us consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground. The knife that struck her had fallen from above. There's no possible way it could have planted itself into the victim's back. Dude, she was picking up the book. Yeah. Order! Order! Quite right, you see. That's exactly right. If the knife had fallen on her from above, it would have struck her on the top of her head. Well, He's lost for words, I see. I knew it. I never liked his theory in the first place. I don't know, though. What really did happen? It would appear the defense has made a rather spectacular blunder. Maybe we should argue... I mean, clearly she just bent over to pick up the book, but maybe we should just argue that the knife had a really good spin to it, you know? Wouldn't that be a ridiculous argument to make? If a theory has even one inconsistency, it cannot stand. Your theory, my learned friend, is history. That's a very evil-looking pose. Oh, here we go. We were so close. I could see the truth. I was so sure we were on the right track. But now the way has been blocked completely by just one simple inconsistency. Or in other words, we simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency and the theory will stand. Mr. Sato! You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. You were just caught off guard, that's all, and your mind went blank. But if the path you're on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself. The key to this is in the court record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there. Man, I feel like we're really close to the end here. I should maybe just keep going. It seems you have nothing to say, my Nipponese friend. Well, your silence speaks volumes. A tacit acceptance that your theory is fatally flawed.
Objection.
That wasn't me, was it? What? Did he say that? Looking straight down like that. This inconsistency doesn't mean I was on the wrong path. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. It's a test. Angry slap. Yes! If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way that it could have hit her in the middle of her back. Under normal circumstances, that is. What are you implying? Counsel! There's a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain this inconsistency. That can explain how the knife that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. We already have the answer. Oh goodness! Utter madness! Surely this must be the last time. Counsel, present the evidence of which you speak. Okay, this definitely feels like the end here. This is the last inconsistency, the final piece in the puzzle. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. The evidence that explains how the falling knife became lodged in the victim's back is... Well, it's gotta be the book, right?
Take that!
Bang! This! The fourth book found at the scene! Big points! This is the final piece of evidence the defense will present. The burnt book. Is that not Mr. Gerdeb's book? Yes. And to understand its significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. This photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand. But as we all now know, it was a police constable that put the book between her fingers like that. No, but he said that he put it back the way he found it. Quite so. As part of this, his wholesale transplanting of the crime scene to the opposite side of the road. That's true. However, as part of his testimony, Constable B made an extremely enlightening statement on that point. Flashback, here we go. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. In other words, the victim had already picked the book up in her own volition. Of her own volition. And clearly that must have been before she suffered the knife wound. Well, I should say so. After being attacked with a knife, I don't imagine she'd have been doing much of anything. So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand? By Jingo! Jingo? What kind of word is that? I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now. Oh, dearie me. That's right, you're a murderer. We know that the book fell from the top floor of the Gyarados household onto the pavement below, at precisely the moment that the victim was walking past. Yes, at exactly that moment. The young woman was walking along the street in the light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her. The book I threw. Yes, Mrs. Gyarados. And what do you think the woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement? Well, I really can't imagine it, but I suppose she might have reached down and picked the book up. Yes, that is exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book. Oh heavens! And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. This is weird, this is like the first time we're seeing her face. Well, I guess, except for the court record picture, of course. Then in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book. Unlucky. The next object fell from the room above, the jackknife, straight into the middle of her back. And at that same time, walking by chance directly behind Miss Green, was the defendant, Mr. Sosuke Natsume. Well, I never! It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor. In the dark and the fog, he didn't see the knife falling on her from above. Oh! And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker. So there never was a real culprit to run from the scene in the first place. No, this was nothing more than a series of unlikely events that culminated in an unfortunate accident. Big points, and that is the real truth behind this case. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Gyarados, the very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wonder if perhaps it might have been something like that. There, old bean. Poor Mrs. Gyarados. Of course, I never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? Yes, it was. I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book. And I threw the knife as well. John, dear. It's alright. I know. I'm ever so sorry. Truly. I'm sorry! Oh, don't fake. No. Oh, he caught her. Nice. Oh, dude. Don't drop her now. Oh, man, dude. You look like you're about to take a dump. Dude, what happened to your pants? Why is there a hole in your pants? Ugh. Lord Van Zeeks, what news of Mrs. Garadeb? She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events had left her in an especially flustered state. However, I believe she will recover in due course. There's no cause for concern. Yes, unbeknownst to themselves, they caused what could easily have been a terrible tragedy. They shall have to prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions. There's some good news, however, my lord. I've just had word from the hospital where the victim is being treated. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she'll regain consciousness soon. It's strange. We've been talking about the victim all this time, but we've never once met her. I feel like this trial would have been over lickety-split if we had just waited for her to just regain consciousness and then just ask her what happened. How wonderful! This woman is out of danger, it seems. Or the woman. Yes, that is good news. So, Mr. Sosuke Natsume. This is like the first time you're appearing on the stand here. Yes. On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. You came from your distant eastern homeland to study our great British culture, and have been repaid with immeasurable unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies. No, it's me who should have been begging your pardon. Oh no, Mr. Natsume. That evening, when the young woman just collapsed on the pavement before my eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again in my confusion. What conclusion, sir? I was sure that the woman was dead. Yes, Constable B said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she had been killed, too. I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless. It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't yet get used to life here. I can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in the fog, like they're haunting me. Poor Sosuke-san, his imagination really has got the better of him. Yes, poor man. So when it happened, I thought the young woman had been taken by the fog spirits. The fog spirits? I should never have dropped my books like that and run away. I should have called for help, for a doctor, for the police. Instead, I managed to create a rift in the relationship of a trust between our two empires. And for that, I'm truly sorry. Oh, dude, Mr. Garadeb is up there on the juror stand now, I just noticed. One could indeed say that some sort of mischievous spirit has been at work here, I think. One that created a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We were befooled by the spirit and led to false conclusions. But thanks to Lord Van Zeeks and our young lawyer here from the east. Dude, why are you thanking him? He was arguing the opposite. Come on now. It's all me. That chain has now been broken, and the spirit exorcised. I heartily commend you both. Oh! Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. In concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decisions regarding the defendant's culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court? As the foreman of this jury, I can assure you that we've reached a fair and just conclusion. I do declare that the truth can be extremely cruel at times. Well, I didn't suspect the woman next to me, that's for sure. Sitting in for the old bean while she's out of action, you know, but I know what her decision would be. I feel like that you shouldn't be able to do that as a juror. Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out of here and start work? Well, it's about time. I say I'll have a corker of a story to tell the grandchildren when I get home, won't I? Farewell, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I hereby demand your final decisions. Mr. Foreman!
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Oh wow, he has a much deeper voice than I thought.
Not guilty.
Alright. Very well. Mr. Sosuke Natsume, I hereby pronounce you not guilty! Woo, confetti in the courtroom. Fireworks in the courtroom. Fire hazard. And finally, Mr. Natsume. Oh, yes, Lord Sir. You are now a free man once more. It is my hope that you will continue to further your education in British culture. And may you never again be brought before me. Don't commit any crimes. Oh, yes, sir, of course. All my life, I swear I'll never set foot in a courtroom again. I'm transported to tears. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned. 20th of February, 3:17 p.m. The Old Bailey. Defendant's antechamber. Oh, locum. Wait. You mean me? Of course. Is there another locum here? Is there even one? Compared to the original locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, your name has become rather short, hasn't it? What's wrong with using my actual name? Oh, at last I'm free, I'm free. Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation. Heady, hearty, happiness, hurrah! Oh, I am pleased. Mr. Natsume is delighted. Would it be so hard just to say that then? Locum, you did it. You saved me from the brink. Well, what happened to the poor woman was in no way your fault, after all. I'm just glad everyone can see that now. No, not that. Lovely, loyal, locum, lawyer. Yes. I mean, as I said before, I've just never got used to life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners. I see towering brick buildings. And from high up windows, I see them looking down on me, laughing. Look at that little hunchback. Oh dear. I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume. But today, you locum lawyer gave my gloom the boots. You stood firm behind that baronial bench before all those babbling British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. And when I beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold, the best barrister ever born." Well, that's very flattering, and we're very pleased for you. This has given me a wonderful anecdote to recount to my old friends back in Japan. Dude, just don't die in the next day, okay? Apparently that's a common thing with that prosecutor. An anecdote? Is that what's to become of all my hard work? Ah, there you are, my dear fellows. I thought it was him. I should apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose late this morning. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, what a pleasure to see you. I see I'm here not a moment too soon. A disaster's been averted, I'm glad to say. Oh. The trial shall begin presently, Mr. Naruhodo, and I wish you the very best of luck. It's just finished. What? No! Then my haste was in vain? Ugh! It's you! Airlock Sholmes. Oh, have we met, sir? This is Mr. Natsume, the man you had arrested, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, I see. I failed to recognize you at first. Our previous encounters have taken place in the gloom, either of your bleak lodgings or that prison cell. I simply couldn't place that curious face in the lights. Charming. This is all your fault, Airlock Sholmes. You're the reason I had to go through this terrible ordeal. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. My apologies, sir, but I assure you, I have placed you now. You're the fellow who abandoned that poor young lady and ran off, are you not? Ah. Had she been taken to the hospital more urgently, I feel perhaps she would have regained consciousness by now. Oh. But it was unavoidable, I'm sure. We are but human after all. Anyone would have been shaken by such an experience. I feel like if he took her to the hospital, it would not have been very much faster. Because the constable was like right there too. I do feel very badly about how I behaved. Well, never mind. Now then, what was it that you wanted to say to me, sir? Nothing. Ah ha 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 ha! Priceless! Oh, I am so sorry, really, but... that was quite a priceless! Poor Sokushi-san. Still, on the bright side, you've had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. And it would deem you are not even found guilty. But there's no bright side. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Natsume? Even after this, I'm still cursed by the spirits, and now by the Reaper. Ah, Lord Van Zeeks. Yeah, I was just talking about this. I haven't forgotten, you know, what facing that man in court means. Even if you're found not guilty, you're still doomed. It'll be all right, Mr. Natsume. If the Reaper appears trying to make trouble, I will protect you. Hiya! Why'd you do it to me? With a perfectly executed Susato takedown. I like that slow turn he did there. Much as I like being turned on my head, a bit of warning might be nice next time, Mr. Sato. What am I, on the floor? Like, what's going on here? So, Mr. Natsume, what do you tend to do now? You mentioned something about recounting your experiences to your friends back in Japan? Yes, I intend to return to my homeland soon. Oh. It has already been a year since I arrived here in Great Britain. I visited universities, libraries, bookshops. I've been honored with the tutelage of professors. I've learned so much about the wealth of literature here, and the city has shaped. And I've come to realize that it's my calling to sail home and tell my fellow countrymen about it. That's very touching, Mr. Natsume. Or, in perhaps less veiled terms, you wish to withdraw halfway around the world to escape the terror of the Reaper's curse? That's not it at all. The more I learn of literature, the more the strange feeling claws at my insides. I feel compelled to return to my roots and attempt to pen a work of my own. Oh, I see. A work of literature by Sokugi-san could be an interesting read. And what about Mrs. Sato and yourself, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry, what about us? Will you return to Japan alongside your mustached compatriots? Why would we? A week has not yet passed since we arrived in London. And only now does it feel like as though we have finally found our feet. And you are accommodated in a hotel at present, are you not? That's right, but we need to find lodgings before it bankrupts us. I've calculated we can only afford another 10 nights before our entire budget is exhausted. Well then, you can take my lodgings. Oh, the windowless room? Ah, but what it lacks in windows, it more than makes up for with a floor, a ceiling, and walls. Man, that's the total package right there. Great. And of course, I'd be happy to leave behind the accursed evil spirit. Oh my, an evil spirit? Oh yes. It tries to suffocate you while you sleep. It's an infallible wake-up call. Well, think about it, if that's alright. Perhaps I could offer a more welcome alternative. Would you consider taking lodgings with me? Oh man. Really? Well, a vacancy has conveniently presented itself. Though it is up in the attic, I might add. Are you sure it isn't just a storage loft? I spoke with the landlady this very morning on the matter of price, and Iris is cleaning up the room as we speak. You must come at once. I presume you have no luggage to speak of? Oh, this is simply wonderful. What an honor to be invited to take lodgings in the great detective's office, his attic. I'm too overcome for words. So suggesting we look elsewhere is out then. Then it's settled. Iris will prepare a welcome dinner this evening. And you must come too, Mr. Natsume. I insist. I don't know what to say, but thank you, and yes. Wonderful. Then I'll go and complete my paperwork for your formal release, Mr. Natsume. It shan't take long. Somebody's happy. Locum, I knew you wouldn't let me down. I'm truly delighted to have met you here in London. Likewise, Mr. Natsume. It's been a privilege meeting you too. It's a shame that we're gonna have to say goodbye so soon. Well, I've come to realize that I belong in Japan. But Locum, we'll meet again one day. Yes, I'm sure. Hopefully by then I'll be a successful lawyer. Dude, you already are a successful lawyer. Hopefully by then I'll be a successful author. Well, my dear fellow, our carriage appears to have arrived. Wow, that was fast. Come on. Shall we go, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, Mr. Sholmes. I have little doubt Mr. Natsume will be released in time for dinner this evening. And so, with Sokuki, man, I have such trouble saying his name. Sokuki-san's innocence successfully established. We rode Mr. Sholmes to what was to become our new home, 221B Baker Street. Did we get a little cutscene? Oh no, there's still more dialogue. 20th of February, 4:41 p.m. The attic room. So this is to be our new office. Yes! Our office? I rather like the sound of that. Me too. It's simply wonderful, isn't it? I hope you can see this, Kazuma. It's only a small step. But I'd like to think we're getting a little closer to your dream now. So, my dear fellows, do you like the place? Oh, man. Dude, you took off your coat and your hat. Ah, Mr. Sholmes. Yes, thank you so much. It's a delightful room, Mr. Sholmes. I simply adore it. Good, I'm pleased to hear it. Iris and I are delighted to welcome you. I hope everyone's hungry. It's nearly time for dinner. We'll eat as soon as Mr. Natsume arrives. We have a lot to celebrate. Iris, you must let me help you. Alright then. Susie, you can be in charge of the salad. Splendid. So, Mr. Naruhodo, how does it feel to have your own office in the capital? It's very exciting, actually. I can't help wondering what adventures await us. Ah ha 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 ha! Those were precisely my sentiments when I first established my office at these premises. Until I discovered the dark truth about the city of London, that is. Oh, what are we getting into here? London is a glorious place, full of wonder, opportunity, prosperity, and mirth. But the brightest of lights cast the darkest of shadows. The shadows? What do you mean? Well, I believe you're well aware of the murkiness that lies beyond London's facade already. So, once again, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London. Of course, at the time, I had no idea of the significance of those words Mr. Sholmes so casually spoke. But it wasn't long before my turn came to lift the facade and see the true depth of the murk that lay behind it. Alright, there's the end. Oh man, I really should have done this in 2 episodes, but oh well. Epic finale. Anyway, I just got an achievement for completion of episode 4. Alright, let's create a new save here. Alright guys, so yeah, that's called the episode here. Just over an hour in episode length here. I hope you guys enjoyed this super long episode. Next time we'll be starting episode 5 here, The Adventure of the Unspeakable Story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Wow, that is a really long title. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you all have a good day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good day, guys. Bye!